happens when a cow gets drunk? Apparently, they make good beef. And this is not a bad joke, but also Mark Zuckerberg's new hobby, getting cows drunk. Amusing, isn't it? Well, after building Facebook, acquiring WhatsApp and Instagram, and failing to make an impact with Threads, Mark Zuckerberg has found a new hobby. That's cattle rearing. Zuckerberg, in fact, is on a mission to produce the world's highest quality beef. The project is headquartered in Zuckerberg's private ranch in Kauai. The Meta boss is growing 2 breeds of cattle there, Japanese Wagyu and Scottish Angus. Both are already among the world's most expensive beef. But Zuckerberg wants to up the game, so he is feeding cows with food a lot of humans cannot afford. Endless supply of homegrown macadamia nuts and beer to wash them down. Do tipsy cows really mean tasty beef? Well, Zuckerberg believes so. And we did a little research. As it turns out, sometimes and only sometimes are Wagyu cows given beer. It apparently stimulates their appetite. In Japan, some farmers also give their cows alcohol massages. Lucky for cows, they don't have a legal drinking age. Also, who said only a techie-turned-farmer could butcher cow jokes? The Meta chief shared glimpses of his high-stake project on Instagram. He mentioned how each cow will be given up to 10,000 pounds of food each year, which is why he needs to plant a lot of macadamia trees. Zuckerberg shared photos of his daughters helping plant those trees. He said of all his projects, this is the most delicious. Well, too bad this passion project has made Zuckerberg a laughing stock. Many netizens are advising Zuckerberg to stick to tech and not venture to new pastures. With cow farming, PETA too has a beef with Zuckerberg. Let me now read out what PETA's vice president wrote on Twitter. Mark Zuckerberg says he has now started raising cattle at his property in Hawaii, feeding them beer and then killing. Mark, the dark age is called and they want you back. Hashtag go vegan. Zuckerberg is being accused of exploiting animals for profit. Many are calling for the boycott of Meta, in fact, clearly because of Zuckerberg's drunk cattle project. A lot of people are having a cow. Let's now shift our focus to Nepal. A spiritual leader has been arrested on charges of rape and kidnapping. His name is Ram Bahadur Bomjan, but the world knows him as the Buddha boy. So who is he and what's his story? How did he go from a spiritual leader to an alleged rapist? Let's start from the top. Now, little is known about the Buddha boy's early years. He was born in 1990 as Ram Bahadur Bomjan Tamang. He lived in the Bara district of Nepal. When he was around 14 years old, he left his home for India. He went to Dehradun to study and become a lama at a monastery, but he did not finish what he started. Only 5 months later, he returned to Bara. It wasn't long when he left his home once again, and this time to do meditation. According to some versions of the story, nobody had a clue. Bomjan just disappeared after midnight. A search was conducted, but he was nowhere to be found. And next morning, his brother saw him near a river close to their house. But Bomjan refused to go home. He kept on walking alone, only to stop at the Ratanpuri jungle. The next day, he was found meditating under a peepal tree. Dressed in white clothes, he sat cross-legged with a calm expression on his face. Days went by, but Bomjan did not move. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. But Bomjan did not move a finger, let alone eat or drink. Soon the news spread. The pictures of Bomjan meditating were circulated. People started drawing parallels between him and Lord Buddha. the founder of Buddhism. And there were uncanny coincidences. Just like Buddha, Bomjan's mother was also named Maya Devi. Just like Buddha, Bomjan was also born on a full moon day. He also meditated under the peepal tree and assumed the same posture as Lord Buddha. At that time, this was enough to make people believe. Many started worshipping him as the reincarnation of Buddha. And soon, Bomjan became Nepal's Buddha boy. In the year 2005, the 15-year-old sat in a tree hole meditating for 11 months without food, without water. That is what the local media reported. We still don't know how he did that. If at all, some 50 meters away, a barbed wire and guards isolated him from the touch of the world. Only his brother had the key to this fortress. Now, just a year ago, Ratanpuri had been a simple farming village. It had little contact to the outside world. But after the rise of the Buddha boy, the village became a sort of a pilgrimage site. Devotees bought and sold Bomjan's merchandise. There were pictures, videos, books, even a documentary was made on him. Devotees gave him hundreds of thousands of rupees in offerings. Even well-known ministers and businessmen became his followers. A decade passed by. Bomjan declared his own religion, set up an ashram and built an empire. His religious organization branched out both at home and abroad. But little did he know that his empire would fall like a castle of cards. So how did the Buddha boy's downfall actually begin? Well, he faced allegations of wrongdoing. Reports started to emerge about his violent behavior and alleged crimes. It began with an assault. A devotee came to Bomjan's monastery to visit his guru, and when the Buddha boy reportedly attacked him with a sword, and soon this erratic behavior was common for people in the ashram. In the year 2010, dozens of assault complaints were filed against Bomjan. He was accused of beating the victims because they disturbed his meditation. In the year 2018, an 18-year-old nun accused Bomjan of raping her, that too at his own ashram when she was a minor. The following year, police opened another investigation against the Buddha boy. His own family members reported the disappearance of 4 devotees from one of the ashrams. It's still not known where those people are. This was the Buddha boy's undoing. An arrest was issued against him in the year 2020, and almost 4 years on, the police finally got a hold of the Buddha boy. They tracked down the 34-year-old on the outskirts of capital Kathmandu. He reportedly tried to flee the officers by jumping 2 floors from a window, but all in vain. The police arrested Bomjan and brought him before the media in handcuffs. The officers also seized a stack of Nepalese banknotes and other foreign currencies. How much was it worth? Some $260,000. Bomjan is now expected to be taken to court. His followers are not happy, of course. They gathered outside the Central Investigation Bureau offices in Kathmandu, but were pushed back by the riot police. You see, this was the rise and fall of a so-called spiritual leader. There was a time when he was recognized as a peaceful ascetic, but now his monstrous side is on wide display. It is the 11th of January and 2024 is already turning out to be a bad year for working professionals. Scores of corporate sector employees are being laid off, especially in big tech companies, the likes of Amazon, Google and Meta. Let's start off with Google. It has announced that it will be laying off hundreds of employees from 3 of its teams: digital assistant, hardware, and engineering. This move is part of the company's ongoing efforts to reduce expenses. And what's worse, it comes almost exactly 1 year after Google had announced its biggest layoffs ever, which impacted 12,000 employees. The layoffs will impact employees involved in the development of Google Assistant and those in the augmented reality hardware team. And besides this, the company's central engineering organization will also see job cuts. And next we have Amazon. It has announced plans to lay off several hundred employees from its Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios divisions. The company's senior vice president addressed the decision in a note to the employees. In fact, she said the move was needed as the company aims to shift its focus and resources towards content and product initiatives with greater impact. The note, as per Reuters, indicates that the layoffs would primarily affect employees in the United States. And next we have Meta. According to reports, the new year was not all that happy for scores of Meta employees. Some of them working at Meta-owned Instagram have been laid off. At least 60 technical program managers were told that their roles were disappearing. And these were people who go in between Meta's tech workers, like its engineers and the higher level product managers. Reports say many more are about to get their jobs axed from the photo video sharing company. Now here's the thing, these layoffs may be happening in other countries, but if reports are to be believed, Indians working in the tech sector are also at risk. That's right, 2024 holds a bleak future perhaps for India's job seekers as well, especially in the tech sector. Reports say the biggest tech companies may soon pause hiring in India, and this includes the ones we just talked about, Google, Amazon and Meta. They are hitting the brakes on hiring due to the global economic slowdown. Their revenues are falling, their projects have slowed down, most of these companies have had to resort to restructuring measures. A cautious approach to hiring is one such measure. In fact, according to an analysis, active demand for major tech companies plummeted by 78% this year. This fall reduced the demand to a 1.5-year low, and as a result, this brought the total number of active listed openings globally to an abysmal low of just 30,000. I repeat, 30,000. That's the number of active openings across big tech players globally. And if I speak of India, these companies have as few as 200 open positions in India. This represents a 98% decrease from their typical hiring levels. What does that tell you? That it's not just global tech giants. Even companies in India are reducing their workforce, like Flipkart, Paytm. Human AI has laid off about 4% of its workforce. Paytm has laid off over 1,000 employees. This represents 10% of its total workforce. Flipkart also is considering laying off 5 to 7% of its workforce. The trend is clear. 2024 holds a bleak future for job seekers in the tech sector globally. Our advice would be navigate your decisions and choices in the days ahead rather